Bisping over JDM. Bisping over JDM. Bisping over JDM. Bisping over JDM. Woohoo! So today I'm going to explain to you guys why I think that Michael Bisping is better all time than Jack Della Maddalena. Let's compare Bisping's best wins. Luke Rockhold, Anderson Silva, and Thales Leitis. JDM's 3 best wins are Bilal Muhammad, Gilbert Burns, and Kevin Holland. Look at Chris Weidman. He beat Demian Maia, good win. Mark Munoz, decent win. Anderson Silva, when he had 16 defenses, you might say, oh, he was clowning around. Bro, that's Silva's problem too. And besides, Silva clowning around against everyone. But Chris Weidman showed that you can't be clowning around all the time, and he showed a way to counteract the clowning around by Silva. And then he beat Lyoto Machida's elite, a guy who beat Gegard Mousasi at middleweight. And Vitor Belfort, don't say, oh, he's past the PRT, Vitor, he's washed. Vitor Belfort was coming off wins against Michael Bisping, and Luke Rockhold knocked him out when he fought Chris Weidman. So don't say, oh, Vitor was washed that time. You guys are silly. And then, as an undefeated guy, he lost to Luke Rockhold for the belt. So Luke Rockhold beat Chris Weidman, who was then undefeated. Now, let's look at Bilal Muhammad. He beat Leon Edwards, which is nowhere near as good as Chris Weidman, though an elite win, because, think about it, Chris Weidman, when Luke Rockhold beat him and destroyed him, was coming off the win against Vitor Belfort, who was an elite version of himself on TRTs, and knocked out Bisping and Rockhold. He also beat Lyoto Machida's elite, coming off Gegard Mousasi win. He also beat Anderson Silva, who's an all-time great in his prime. And don't forget that he also beat Demian Maia, who is pretty solid and was a title challenger again after this. So, yes, I think that if you compare Bilal Muhammad versus Luke Rockhold, Chris Weidman beats Leon Edwards. Greater defenses and better quality wins. And then Gilbert Burns, who Bilal Muhammad beat towards the tail end of his career, compare that to Lyoto Machida, who Luke Rockhold beat, coming off the win against CB Dollaway. Lyoto's better than that. And then, give me to say that Sean Brady, Vicente, Wonderboy, Maya, arguably better than the rest of Luke Rockhold's wins. But still, comparing their top 2 wins between Rockhold and Bilal, Rockhold clears. Now for the next part, I'm going to compare Anderson Silva, who Bisping beat, versus Gilbert Burns, who JDM beat. Here's your beloved Gilbert Burns. And I argue that Gilbert Burns has not been the same since losing to Usman. He beat Wonderboy, old man. Khamzat Chimaev he lost to. Yes, he looked good in that fight, but Khamzat Chimaev was a developing fighter at that time. Neil Magny and Masvidal, need I say more? Neil Magny, who's a journeyman, and Jorge Masvidal, out of prime and not good wrestling. And then loses to Bilal Muhammad, and Jack beats a guy coming off a loss. Now, let's look at the Silva, who Bisping beat. Yes, coming off the 2 Weidman losses, but arguably beat Nick Diaz in a fight that got overturned due to both men testing positive. Lose to Bisping in a fun fight where he almost knocked him out. So still a pretty solid version of himself. Yes, both Silva and Burns out of their primes, but I think Silva looked better against Bisping than Burns did against JDM. Even though Burns did look against JDM, I think that Silva almost knocking out Bisping and making it a fun fight versus Burns, who was just hugging and taking down JDM until he got knocked out. I think that version of Silva, who Bisping beat, is better than the version of Burns, who JDM beat. Yes, he lost to Cormier on 1 day's notice, and unlike Gilbert Burns, coming off a win against Derek Brunson afterwards, whereas Gilbert Burns has yet to come off a win after beating Jack Della Maddalena. So Silva is better than Burns because, one, better all-time, no doubt. 2, more skilled. 3, at least had a win after Bisping, unlike Burns versus JDM. And second, while both men looked decent against JDM and Bisping, Silva looked better because he almost knocked out Bisping, made it a fun fight and fun war between those two guys. Whereas Gilbert Burns, he was just holding down Jack Della Maddalena until he got knocked out. So I argue that Silva looked better than Burns, even though out of prime. So Silva beats Burns. Now, last but not least, Thales versus Kevin Holland. Who's the better win? When Thales fought Michael Bisping, he was on an 8-fight win streak. Ed Herman, Boach, Carmont, Horn, lots of veterans. Your boy Kevin Holland, who did he beat? Ponzinibbio, who's after his knee surgery, and Michael Chiesa, old man, out of his prime, and then lost to Jack Della Maddalena, and Jack Della Maddalena went to a split with this guy. Come on, bro, that makes Jack look bad. Thales is better all time than Kevin Holland. Simple as that. Better record, more diverse skill set. This guy is better than your Kevin Holland. Let's not forget, Thales is 28-9 overall. You see, Kevin Holland has a 28-15 record, unlike Thales is 28-9. So Thales has the better record than Kevin Holland, better momentum going into the fight against Bisping, 8-fight win streak versus Holland's 2-fight win streak going into the Jack fight. And his jiu-jitsu and rest and grappling is way, way, way better than Kevin Holland. So Thales over Kevin Holland, baby. So yes, that's why Bisping over JDM. Bisping over JDM. Bisping over JDM. Bisping over JDM. That is pretty clear, crystal clear, obvious. Because think about it, as I said again, Luke Rockhold beats Bilal Muhammad comparing their best wins because Luke Rockhold ending Chris Weidman in his prime is better than Muhammad ending Edwards in his prime because Chris Weidman, who beat all-time Silva, Elite Machida, and Elite Belfort, and plus Good Maya versus Muhammad, who did he beat? Burns, who's, I think, lost since the Usman fight. Elite Leon Edwards wasn't as good as Weidman. Vicente Luque, Wonderboy Maya. Luque is alright. Maya Wonderboy, out of prime guys. So Rockhold or Muhammad any days because Chris Weidman in his prime is better than Leon Edwards in his prime. Silva over Burns, though both men are declining at the time, Silva only lost to Chris Weidman and looked much better against Bisping than Burns did against JDM. And yes, I say that too because of the fact that Silva almost knocked out Bisping and had a great war, whereas Burns was holding down no wrestling JDM until he got knocked out. And both men are out of prime. And Burns since then hasn't had a win, whereas Silva at least beat Derek Brunson, a guy who'd become a top 10 middleweight. So Silva is better than Burns all time, more skill, and in my opinion, better momentum. Because plus he arguably came off the Nick Diaz win, whereas Burns, when he fought JDM, coming with the Bilal Muhammad loss. And Lightus, as I said again, is better than Holland. Though both men have one elite win, and I only count one defense for Bisping because, zero defense for Bisping because of the fact that Dan Henderson is an old man and JDM has 0 defenses. Resume says Bisping over JDM. Bisping over JDM. Bisping over JDM. Bisping over JDM.